All right, folks, it's time. There's no easy way to start this. It's intimidating as hell, which is why it's taking me so long. I have a stack of 8 Attack on Titan books here. All right, we're going to go through them real quick. I do have to sort of flip through them and reorganize my thoughts around each of the volumes so that I can fill out this rating system and then possibly work on a tier list along the way, because there's going to be a lot of these volumes. But I got to get started, and then I'll be able to maintain this once we go. But me being the completionist that I am, I got to do these first 8 novels before I do them for each of the novels that I read with whatever the vlogs are going to turn into in the future. This is a delving experience, an experiment, if you will, and I'm bringing you along for the ride. So thank you very much for checking these things out. If you enjoy them, of course, like early, it lets me know that I'm on the right track. And so without further ado, as you can see by the screen here, I was trying to wrap my head around the rating system, the weak, okay, good, excellent, amazing, and already kind of moving some icons around to see like where they might fit for volume 1. If you're wondering, my rating system here, the 1 to 5 or the columns on the left, I'll be linking a video in the description. It's 2 minutes, it's very short, and it'll give you a summary of how I define each of these along the way. So as you can see, and I'm just gonna I literally just dive in because there's so much. I don't know how long this video is gonna be, but I do want to try to keep this as succinct as possible, and then let the vlogs speak for themselves. If you're new here and you're wondering what I mean by vlogs, I've been doing blind reads and rereads to then do the blind reads and then continue the series, and I'll link those vlogs in the description below as well, so that if you're new here, you can find them and check out my deeper thoughts. Each of the volumes is about 45 minutes to an hour long episode, so there's a lot of thoughts. There've been a lot of thoughts over the years at this point, but now I'm committed to get through this stack, okay? So let's start with volume number 1 right now, and I'm going to go swimming lane by swimming lane and just talk it through, and again, I'm going to try to keep this short. So storytelling and pacing, I don't really need to flip through this one again, although I'm doing that literally right now, but this is how fast I need to do it, because I just need to remember more or less the pacing and the flow from chapter to chapter, and just to get a reminder of like the art style and the line work, which is I'm kind of consuming it as I go. You can see part of it on the bottom screen. Anyways, and then I will go from there. Okay, so there we go. Storytelling and pacing. I will say, like, it's not that I didn't like the storytelling. I actually didn't mind it, but there were parts that were super ambiguous. I like the symbolism stuff, the stuff with the metaphors with the animals and the birds in the cage and stuff like that. I thought it was I thought it was like, in its simplicity, it was very good. That's always going to be a really epic double spread there, and it's like very early on, and so the act 1 of this book is very strong, almost too strong, and it's so strong that they sort of have to mess around with time after it. And that's, I think, where things start to maybe fall apart a little bit for me from a narrative perspective. Is like, you'll get through, like, let's say half of this book here is the chapter where the event happens with the mother, and then we sort of have this time switch, right, where it's the night of the disbanding ceremony, and you're like, wait, what just happened? And so you have to kind of keep in mind that it's like the first act and the first half of act 2, it was a setup of the world more than it was for story. Like, I just feel like there might have been more to fill in there. And so I think the time jump, it's not that it didn't work, it felt like it might have been like this entire volume 1 could have just been that moment in time 5 years ago, before they joined the Corps or joined the training, right, to get recruited and stuff like that. Like, I felt like this entire volume could have easily had stayed in that time and given us more character development, given us more just a pacing that was a little bit closer to I don't know, an act 1 setup for like a 4-volume set. Now, that's arbitrary, right? I'm biased here with the way that I'm kind of looking at these volumes, but it's tended to work out for me in the series that I've looked at. What I mean by that real quick is that if I take 4 volumes like this, I sort of see a volume 1 being an act 1, these 2 in the middle being an act 2, and this 4th volume being the crazy like act 4 where like everything goes nuts, right? Now, and then each volume, I kind of break it up into 4s as well, and I go, okay, the first quarter, I sort of expect a certain setup, and we sort of got that because, to a very strong degree, because of the Colossus Titan appearing, and then our Act 2 is a little bit of like, oh crap, things are really bad, and so usually that sort of goes more into the setup, like giving the audience some information, some world building. Like, the pace for me is usually a little bit slower in that second quarter, and then the third quarter, things pick up, and the fourth quarter, the last quarter of this volume, shit would hit the fan, and that might have been like that Colossus reveal moment could have been the end of this volume. That's what I feel in my heart. And so the pacing and the storytelling is okay, is where I would say. It's not bad. For my bias, my subjective preferences, I feel like the time flipping was jarring. And I know that the mangaka is trying to establish a lot of the world building pieces in here so that it captivates an audience to want to come back for the series. So let's talk about the rating here. I got storytelling pacing 2. I don't think I want to change my mind here. I think it's okay for the reasons I've mentioned. The atmosphere and immersion. Now, that was better than good because it is epic. It's epic in scale. It is dark. And the way that it's dark and grim, it's done in a way that is grounded. It just feels like the world has a vibe to it. And so the atmosphere and immersion for me did land. Even though the time switches happen, I got to separate that part of it. That's why I broke this up into 5 categories, just so I can think about these things separately as possible. And so I would say like each of the chapters had their strengths. The return to the, of course, Colossus Titan in the third quarter, by the way, like if you can see that, right? That's about 3/4 in. That's that moment, the catalyst that goes into an Act 3 sort of thing. And that feels like a setup for an Act 3. So again, that's like the atmosphere and immersion is like, this is the scale really, like it shows. And so I would give this, easily, I would say it's excellent. I feel it, So character depth and development. Now this is where it's okay, but it was almost a week, to be honest. I read this blind, maybe a year and a half ago, and I reread it about 2 months ago, right, to start the series all over again. And I felt the same thing both times. I felt like our protagonist, Eren, Mikasa, if you want to include her in there, Armin to some degree, but he's not really a primary. He's sort of a secondary, but in like this trinity of primary protagonists, maybe. But really, Eren is our primary protagonist, And I didn't feel like I got any character development. It's very literally on the precipice of weak and okay. The only reason I think it got to okay, we do get Mikasa thrown in. We get a little bit of Mikasa, but again, not enough. It's again on that precipice. But then we get the other characters introduced in the flash forward scene, which is actually our present scene. The beginning of this book was actually a past scene, a flashback for the half of the book. And we gotta focus character depth and development. So even when they're in the cafeteria and they're having that exchange, right, with Braun and Eren, and Mikasa picks him up and takes him out, but it's very quick. It's not very captivating. The characters don't really stand out to me, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm going to talk more about this as we progress in the volumes. Also, while I said that, to keep in mind, I can't be grading this with what I know in the future. That's like I need to catch myself, which is what I just did right now. It's like I can't be grading this knowing how things develop or how they reveal or what changes with the environment or the art or etc., etc., right? I have to contain it to this experience as if I just experienced this book again, and I'm giving my impressions on these 5 categories. So character depth and development, I will say it was almost borderline weak. It's good because you can sense that there's going to be more there. The seeds are a little bit too slow, so the development is lagging a little bit, whether the potential is there or not, but I'm gonna leave it at okay. And then production quality and creativity, can we all agree that the art is not amazing? I mean, it's actually okay, right? The art is okay. I'm flipping through it again. I'm like, it actually looks better than I remembered. But then I flipped to there's just a couple flips to some pages where I'm like, yeah, that's why it's not. It's amateur-esque. We can all agree. I understand what's in the future, and I've already experienced part of it, right? I know that there's an evolution of the art style that goes into this, but to be honest, even my memory was worse than I remembered. Like, that's not bad, right? That's not bad. But then there's moments where with the anatomy, with the characters, like that's not bad. That's actually that if all the book was like this right here, that would be good. That would be good. I wouldn't say excellent yet, but close, to be honest. But see, it's like only once in a while. You see what I'm saying? Like this is epic, right? This is epic. The idea of this is epic. This is almost like an atmosphere rating. This is the kind of thing that would make me evaluate it as atmosphere, not just art, okay? Or storytelling. It's like that feels crazy. Like it feels like I'm there. Like I get a vibe, right? That's what I mean by atmosphere and immersion. But then you get that. You flip the page and you get something like that, and it just doesn't work. Or that. It's easy to find the examples, right? And it's almost too easy. I'm going to leave it at weak. It is weak. We can all agree. I'm also taking the covers into consideration. Now this is not the worst of the covers. They absolutely get worse. This is actually a pretty decent cover, but I do take the cover into consideration. This is production quality and creativity, and so I kind of look at the entire feel of it, right? Like some sometimes you'll get to the end of these and they'll do little bonus, like little bonus things at the end, right? And all of that counts, right? It's these things as well. Like, I feel like this is very creative stuff. Adding these kinds of pages in, it's very creative, and I will give it points for that along the way. But I still think it's weak overall, and I'm just gonna go with that. Yeah, I'm flipping through it again. I still feel the same way. Okay, and then overall plot and world building, that's where this excels. The ideas are very good. The grandness of it, very good. Everything's very good. That's why it's excellent. That's why it's a 4. Do I think it's amazing? Man, it's so close to being amazing. It is. But the overall plot, because this is overall plot and world building, the overall plot is where it went from amazing to excellent. I feel like the plot is there, right? But I can't be grading this based on what I know is coming in the future. It's more like we get the basement seed, which is very good, right? And it's just that one seed for the entire volume, which is okay. It's okay. Like, I would expect something in Act 3 to then play off of that seed. And it doesn't really play off. So again, this is a bit of a subjective bias about how I approach stories and world building and seeding, and the overall plot is like the bigger picture tapestry, the tapestry of this event, right? This narrative. So that's where I'm at with this. And I know it seems rough with a 13 out of 25. I mean, it's barely a pass, which doesn't seem right. But let's take into context, right? 3 is a 60%. It's not a 50%. So it's not really an average, if that makes sense. Okay, and I need 1 to really not be a 0. Like, 1 shouldn't be a 0. A 0 is a 0. A 0 is I'm not going to put anything on the graph, which I hope never happens, right? But like a 1 is still like, it's okay. It's just weak. It's just weak. And so things are just maybe shifted in an odd way that make the points feel low. But the reason behind that is because I need these points to allow variance so that it helps me then work out the tier list. Just helps me kind of make decisions on a tier list, okay? Like in my book, the 3 stars is still a good, right? It's 3 equals 3. It's still good. I know. There's people who love the series, but I'm wondering if the people who really, really love the series because they love the series. And so your bias is going into rating a volume 1 for what you know of the series, right? That's not what I want to do here. I want to focus on the volume. Okay, we're going to get the template here. We're going to duplicate. We're going to move this up. Hopefully you come along with me on the, there we go. Okay, volume 2. Now, 2 I said. All right, now, Volume 2. I mean, I'm going to start with, I'm going to bounce around some of these categories along the way because I obviously I can't organize my thoughts. Like, this cover is crap for me. I really don't like it. This cover is already weak for me. It could be potentially good, but I just hate how this face is cropped off like this. It's not a good composition at all. I think this could have been an epic kind of framing that could have happened here, but it just doesn't work. It's really weak. Now, let me do a quick flip through. Yeah, the art is still, it's hard to say because I mean it's good, you know, it's good until it's not, and then when it's not, it's really not, and then it's sometimes there's some good line work in here on occasion. It feels like it's got a better handle on the action, but they're still a little stiff, I would say. And so I'm still, does it go from weak to good? No. I think that volume 1 for me already had some better pages and panels than volume 2. So unfortunately, I'm still going to keep this in weak. Now, to be fair, let me look at some of the bonus content in here. Honestly, the bonus content sort of elevates it. Let's see the see, it gets good near the end. The art gets a little better. Okay. Ooh, this is where I've had less time to think my way through things, you know? So there's going to be a lot more cutting here. Like, what do we get here? We get this important part right here. The Mikasa backstory, I would say, is very strong. So I'm already looking at, I would say, from a character depth and development, I'm creeping into good. In terms of Aaron's development, I still feel like it's a little weak, but I have to admit, like, the entire Mikasa exchange was good. It gave us, I don't want to speak in past tense because see, I caught myself, because it's taken into consideration where I know this is going, and I don't want to do that. We're just in this book, but I would say that the Mikasa and Eren exchange, there's some subtext, and I'm a big fan of subtext in here, and there's a lot of that in that chapter. So in these first 2 chapters alone, I would say they're actually very strong. God, it would almost be excellent. The first 2 chapters would almost be excellent. It's going from a 3 to 4. Ooh. Yeah, there was a scene of that scene, like the whole that they have to take that thing over the supply area. The characters are more deep. They become a little bit more compelling. So, hey, we're out of the okay range, I would say, from a character development side. Let me just start to shift this around. You're going to see how this sort of plays out when I'm doing this as part of the vlog. This is closer to what I had in mind. This has to show me that, God, why is my OCD like this? Has to be center. Why is my vertical line not popping up? Fine, take it. Anyways, this is sort of what I'm thinking of doing, right? As I'm kind of experiencing things, I'll move these things around and they'll ebb and flow, you know? That's kind of where I'm at. Atmosphere and immersion, I would say the action is pretty compelling. Look at, I mean, that's crazy. Like, he's done really well. The Titan, could be better. I just noticed something. So I did a blind read of this, and then I did a read of this. No, I did a blind read of this, and then I did a reread of this. There's just something in the future that I remember. I mean, that punch taking out that lower jaw. I remember there being a detail in one of the future volumes. I'm not going to bring it up right now. Don't spoil me in the comments below. I didn't say that up front, but I hope that people are acknowledge that I'm reading this series right now. Please don't spoil me. I'll talk about what I just thought of later. When I'm reading the books. Anyways, or when I'm flipping through the future books. But I don't want to turn this into that. I can't be talking about speculations while doing a review series. But I'm just... okay, let's leave that alone for now. So atmosphere immersion, yeah, it's definitely more than okay. So it's gonna get a bump here. Storytelling and pacing, way stronger than the first one. We got a little bit of a flashbacky kind of like back and forthing with the timelines. I get why that needs to be done. I do. But then we get right into the action. And we're in the Act 2 scenario. We're at the midpoint. There's some escalations. We got the Titan interception here, and we're going into a catalyst. The catalyst, see, this is subjective for me. I can do it relatively quick. So the catalyst here is Aaron with us or against us kind of scenario. And then they basically have to get out of that scenario. So that is really good. That is a really good story structure, pacing, everything. I would say I'm at least in the excellent. I'm feeling that, again, based on my own bias. Keep that in mind. But I mean, how else am I going to do it, right? How else do any of us review things? That's the only way to do it. So, storytelling, pacing, between good and excellent, I'm feeling the excellent because it's focused. It has linearity when it is important. Yeah, man, that fight scene at the end is just, it's so good. Okay, and then we got overall plot and world building is more than okay because we get some more information around just the way that the units get around, which allows us to see more about the structure of the city. From a world building, it's at least good. Overall plot, no, it's good because this is the big reveal moment, and I think it actually feels kind of epic. So I might actually get it even up to here. It feels like overall plot and world building. What else would I expect out of the plot for it to be excellent instead of good is where I'm at. I would expect some more. No, I wouldn't. I was going to say more development on the Titan front, but we got it because the end reveal, the big cliffhanger moment is, of course, is that right there. And that was an epic cliffhanger. That really felt cool. That would be storytelling and pacing. It was just cool overall. The way the volume ended was strong. Overall plot and world building. I like seeing the units in action, and it was cohesive. I really enjoyed the fight with Aaron, Titan. And and so we're back down to production quality, creativity. The fight is good, man. You know what? I'm going to say it's okay. I don't know. Let me take another flip through. Yeah, but the cover is so bad, man. No, the cover is so bad. It's like, I know I shouldn't be rating the entire book. Like, it shouldn't be dinged because of the cover, but it's so bad. This is volume 2, man. Like, the cover should be amazing, you know? The art around the Mikasa chapters are really good. The fights, although they got wonky Titan anatomy going on, they're actually really cool. Some of the people still look wonky as fuck, man. I can't say it's weak. Sounds like it's coming off like it's bad. It's not that it's bad. It's just, I guess it's weak. It's not bad. I don't want one to come off as bad. No rating here should be that it sucks. I feel like, I mean, sure, you could get there, but I would just say it's weak because they're still strong. Man, the mangaka's doing work in this. I'm flipping through this. I mean, the mangaka's doing work. You know how hard it would be? Like you got multiple characters squeezing into each panel, but again, compositionally, it's not cool. Like, it's just, it gets cluttered very fast, but that's so much work, like, that he's doing. So I have to respect the amount of effort. But is it okay versus weak? Sounds negative now, though. It's the cover, man. I can't let it go. We're going to move on. I do feel like... It's the artist in me, man. I can't. Let's look at number 1. The pacing and storytelling got bumped. It makes me feel bad about 1. Again, it's okay. Was it just okay? I feel like I'm wrong. But now I'm using this because it creates a baseline, right, of expectations too as I go. Storytelling pacing. Do I hate it enough? I do. I really don't like that time shift. I really don't. We're going to leave it at okay. I almost convinced myself to go to good there. I can't do it. I can't do it. Atmosphere bumped down. And immersion went to excellent there, huh? Because that's a relative. Like, was atmosphere and immersion less than 1? Yes, I guess it was. Because, 1 got us the epic, like, oh crap moment with the Titan, and just the sheer size of it. It made it more, it brought you, like, it was compelling. The fights were compelling. The swings, the different action types, it felt dangerous, Not that this one didn't feel dangerous. It was good. But was it excellent? Man, it was good. I would say, oh man, it's almost like between a good and an excellent, but still on the minus side, not plus side. Does that make sense? So I got to bump it to 3. Character development, how do I feel about that? Yeah, it definitely got better. Yeah. And then production quality, we'll leave it. And world building, and okay, so we're good. So we got 4, we got 7, 10, 11, 15. There we go. So we got a 15, 5, 10, 15. We're still in the good category. It's still a 3-star, right on the edge there. There you go. But let's move on because I'm already at the half an hour mark. I don't know what you're all seeing, but damn, this is going to happen. This is bound to happen. We're going to duplicate this sucker. Bam. Move her up and let's go. Number 3. This is kind of my bias, storytelling bias, but from an overall plot and world building perspective, it's what I explained, right? The volume 1 would kind of feel like an act 1 for me. And then volume 2 and 3 would be your act 2. And then volume 4 would be the act 3. So volume 3 is I'm expecting like a pickup. Like I come into this and my bias for storytelling and pacing is that it has to up the stakes. That's what I want to see out of here. Let me flip through and start seeing how I feel. Now the cover, see the cover gets better here. The cover is not going to get dinged. Judge a book by a cover. I'm sorry, but that's the way we're going to go. So it's going to stay at okay so far. Let's start flipping through. Now, right off the bat here, we have a little bit of a flashback with the Titans. I've just got to rejog my memory as to how the art is not good. Right up front, it's a Levy short thing. That was good. That was good. That was a good story. Not part of the overall, but that's okay. I'm not going to ding it for that. But the art is not good. We have now flashback with Aaron inside the belly. That does look epic. Let's see when he does these splashes, man, he has some really nice line work for sure, man. I mean, and it's not fair because some of the Titans just are designed to look wonky, And it's not that the art is wonky. The Titans are messed. They're just wonky, which makes sense, And then, he really tries to push himself as an artist to do perspective and stuff like that. And I think that's where the weaknesses lie and things don't land, So I don't know, but we're going to go production quality. It is production quality and creativity, which isn't fair because like the Titan ideas are creative. You know what? I'm going to put you into 2. Production quality and creativity. Ooh, that might change my scoring. It might. Let's go back to that and think that through when I go back. But thank you for sticking around for this volume 3, this slow crawl where the ratings will change up until volume 8, folks. I just, because I'm kind of working this system out as I talk to all of you. This is why this is a vlog about this. And it's not like a high production value rating where I've written a script and I'm thinking cohesively and coherently. No, you're on this journey with me. Like that's pretty cool. That morph there, gotta say, that was pretty good. Where did it happen? At about the 1/3 mark. So we're just creeping into an act 2 for this volume. And so catalyst moment, pacing, storytelling, strong. That moment would be strong. I would give this at least a good so far because from a page turning perspective, I feel like it's doing good. Now we switch perspectives and we're at the wall, and that's okay. We just had that epic moment. This does kind of slow things down, but when I assess things as a phase 2 of this volume, that's where things are supposed to slow down. It's in that first quarter, and then things need to start picking up again. But this is where like setup would happen for things to start to escalate the conflicts, right? So we have Aaron and the firing squad and stuff like that, where they have to sort of work their way out of this problem. We've got some flashback scenes, okay, with the book and with Armin. So we've got some character development here. We've got a little bit more depth to all of them. There's a couple pages dedicated to Mikasa, Armin, and Aaron talking things through. So that sets up a lot of seeds for the future. I would say that development is good here. Like it feels like it's at least good, right? It could be creeping onto excellent here. Atmosphere immersion, let me just get that in the first half. At this point I'm at the phase 3 mark here, phase 2 to phase 3 mark. Immersion wise, I'm not really, it's not as compelling because there's a lot of talking head stuff, there's a lot of setup, and the firing squad thing is a little bit slow feeling until of course there's like the epic exchange was fun. That was some pretty decent character development moments for Armin, but not for Eren to some degree. For Mikasa too, I think. Armin probably got the most development in this volume, but he's not a primary character. You see what I'm saying? And then we got some side characters that start to get some more context. We got Pixis, right? Gets introduced. We have more characters added to the roster. Is that a good or bad thing? I mean, it depends when it's done and why it's done. I feel like this series has a lot of characters up front, which is probably a weakness more than a strength in my opinion, but there's a lot of stuff to set up and move forward. So we have I'm in the third phase here, and it's the whole setup of Eren being the Titan that has to move the boulder to conceal the gate. So we have a premise that feels like an Act 1 setup catalyst in the middle, nearing the end of the book. I think the pacing gets the ding for that. The storytelling is okay so far. Maybe they spent too much time on the tension buildup on the Eren firing squad chapter in the second phase of this, the second quarter, right? It's still good. Does it ding it off of excellent? Yes, it's definitely not an excellent for me. It's atmosphere immersion again. Yeah, you know what? We got some world building stuff here where the soldiers start to not really feel like they're starting to defect and stuff like that, and it shows us how brutal that can get. I don't know why I'm showing pages at this point. I can just talk it through. You're all hopefully you're all familiar enough with this. But anyways, so that's some good world building for sure. Even though I feel like structurally it's maybe not as strong, that's pretty good. We got the politics angle of this, the layer. No, it is. It's actually pretty. I'll creep that into a 3.5 plus, which means it goes to 4. I think that's how I feel about it now. Overall plot, yeah, because we get some introductions to how to utilize Titan Eren, because now they know he's that. We have some risk involved there. That's pretty good. Okay, that's good. Development is good. Production quality, creativity, is it more than okay? Is the art, the art is definitely not good. I almost feel like the art has gotten worse. I hate to put it that way, but I feel like the interior art, number one is the mangaka probably put in a lot of time there because it's got to land, right? It's got to land. It's got to hit the market. That is, captivate people. Bam. Then 2 and 3. Maybe only got a month to do this thing, so I feel like it got weaker. Man, these are just such epic splash page moments though. Oh man, but then good. Oh man, it's okay. I shouldn't say it's not good because it's not terrible. Here's the thing, and let me be also very clear. I actually kind of enjoy it. I enjoy it. I enjoy the freedom of it and the boldness of its amateurness, if that makes sense. I feel like it actually works to some degree, but biting off more than you can chew is what I would say. There's just a lot of characters, and for someone who's just learning how to draw, that's a crazy effort and requirement from skill set development that under pressure and under this kind of density, it's rough. Oh, so production quality, creativity, I would say it's okay. I would say it's okay. We got a lot of talking heads near the end here where I'm in the last quarter, right? I feel like things should be getting more epic. Now we do get the epic moment of Eren kind of melded, and getting this flashback is kind of neat. Development is kind of neat there. Armin stepping up is pretty good. Mikasa I like the character dynamics. I love I do like the very, very ending of this is cool. Cutting him out and stuff like that. And do I feel like it's a cliffhanger? Yes, but not as strong as the last volume. It was okay. So where would I mean, storytelling, pacing, I would say it slowed down in the last quarter. Yeah, it did. So I'm going to keep it at good. It's not excellent because it's because of that slowdown. Atmosphere immersion, I would say half of it felt slow and sluggish. I know there's a lot of setup happening here, but for a volume 3, there's just there's some shifting around of plot points that maybe could have been done between volume 1 and 3. If all of volume 3 was this Eren and Boulder scenario, I don't know how to explain it. I'd have to look at them all again collectively to see how this could have been organized between volume 1 and 3 in a different way, so that volume 3 felt like it would have yeah, I don't think what I'm saying doesn't actually make sense, because the pieces needed to be exactly what they were for it to get to this point. And it's just the serialization is going to impact some of that pacing that I have a bias against. But that being said, I have to rate based on something, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Do I feel good about this? Storytelling, pacing, atmosphere immersion took a ding here. Let's do it this way. Let's flip. Was it less than volume 2? Yes, definitely less than volume 1. And then storytelling, pacing, yeah, was less than volume 2, so that comparison works. Character depth and development, was it about the same? It's because the Mikasa chapters bump this one up for volume 2, but then it slowed down because I didn't get enough about Aaron, I think is where the weaknesses will always happen, is the character development with the protagonist doesn't really pan out, man. I'm talking in reference to the future to some regard right now, because I know how this is gonna impact quite a few of these volumes, to be honest, because I feel I felt that for the entire series. That's the problem. Production quality and creativity between 2 and, yes, bumped it up to 2 because of the cover. Let me take a look again. But was the interior better? I really don't think it was. It actually, I feel like it definitely got worse in some regards. Man, again, I'm repeating myself that it feels bad to say it was weak, because there's some really good panel work in here. I'm gonna say like there's almost excellent work in here sometimes. It's just so erratic. Maybe that's how I will put it, right? It's that the consistency is off. That's kind of what I'm trying to say about this, is that there's some excellent panels, but there's some atrocious panels. And so the consistency is jarring. That's when it goes to weak, is that it's jarring. It's not consistent. If it was consistently amateur, then maybe you start to adapt to that as the artist's style, and then it doesn't matter, because you're either in for the style or you're not. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not jarring, but I feel like it's jarring right now. Okay, I'm going on about that long enough. Hey, I'm getting faster though, because I did a lot of setup here. Volume 3 is done. We're at 42 minutes. Pretty good. And I've been talking the entire time, so you're probably going to be getting a very long episode here, because I'm not sure where I'd be cutting. Where was I? Production quality and it's the creativity part of it. It wasn't exceptionally it was okay. The creativity was okay, because now we have the premise of the Titans. We sort of have the premise of Aaron as a Titan. The risk of it, that didn't really work out. Was the execution creative? Yes. Does it go to good? Does it go to good? Production quality and creativity. Where else will the ideas go though? The world building? I'd have to separate where the ideas that I'm talking about go. Do they go into world building ideas? Because then that's not creativity, right? Creativity needs to be from design, composition, right? It needs to be the line work. It needs to be control of the character, consistency. That's what creativity means. World building is the ideas. Ideas are great. I can't be mixing those two up. So let me look at volume 2 again. Oh yeah, because I still got a ding. Now, does volume 3 go up to okay under that new definition? Production quality, because the cover is good. I think it's like, as long as the cover is decent, it's maybe going to stay in good. But in my head, I'm like, could it be better? Is usually what I grade, right? Like weak for me is like, could it be better? Yes. I mean, it's probably weak, and it could be better. And if it was better, it'd be good. Because good enough is still weak. Yeah, because it's good enough, but that means it's weak. It's not a 2. I might have been giving this a point for something else, right? And I can't go back 10 minutes of memory right now to know why I bumped this up to 2. Was it because of the cover? I think it was. But then the interior is actually weak. So I'm sorry. If you think I'm being too rough with this, I'm sorry. Subjective opinions across the board for all of us, right? So you're just on the journey with me and my kind of, and this might change. And this might change as we go, right? Because all of this will be relative when we get to the tier. When we get to the tier list, I'll be able to maybe finagle some stuff, right? And think of it from a more, like from a collective perspective, and they'll be going up against each other for different reasons, right? Where are we at? We're at 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I still feel like that's about the range. I know it feels really low. I know. Everybody. I'm trying to convince myself. That's really what it is. I think when I see all of these collectively, I'll be able to think about them in a different way. Like I'll be able to like contextualize it in a way that doesn't feel like something is wrong here. But you got to do one of these. We got to get one of these at the door. And by one, I mean 8. We're going to do number 4. This is where I feel like, again, the bias is that I feel like this should feel like an act 3 or a phase 4 of a 4-part pattern arc, story pattern arc. I feel like this is where like things got to get crazier to the point of like, where do we go from now? Like something crazy just got revealed at the end of this that makes the next 4 volumes feel like a reset button, but with like an escalated expectation. That's what I feel about. So I hate this cover. We're going to start with that. I hate this cover. It's exceptionally weak. So I'm already going to ding this, and the interior art is going to come down to the interior art. All right, so the first few pages, the art is immediately, it's okay, but the faces are they're not good, man. Okay, so we're gonna stay at weak, I think. The anatomy and the consistency is off. Still got those epic moments, yeah, but not enough. All right, so let's keep flipping. The compositions of the panels themselves are feeling a little bit weaker. Like this should have been an epic double page splash here, but I feel like the anatomy and the paces. Don't lock in on how good that could have been. So that was chapter 1, and we're technically in the first quarter, which means I'm expecting some setup here. We got the recruits getting grilled as a chapter 2. We got the Sasha moments. We got some character development happening with the secondary and tertiary characters. I don't want to call those tertiary. They're secondary characters, but there's like 10 of them. That's the goddamn problem, you know? As it is, I do feel like it's a little bit of a problem. We're at the Act 1 mark, going in Act 2. We're getting some exchanges here in the cafeteria again, some extra context, some character development with Braun and Mikasa. Is the first time I believe we get some indication that Braun might be interested, that kind of thing. I think that's what I remember taking away. I hope I'm right about this. Some Sasha development here where she gets like, she has to run laps until she collapses. Ooh, I like this part. I like the figuring out the whole harness thing. Was again, it's like, it feels like it should have been this boring thing, but I actually really enjoyed the idea of it. It was a subtext layer of all of this, was really good, and it was executed very well. I would say, hold on, I was about to grade it here. Hold on, I'm at the halfway point. He has that failure moment where he's hanging upside down. Like, we all know what that's going to turn into, but that's why it's such an effective midpoint. So I do feel like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to give it right now. It's at least one score up because of that. I feel like it was very good pacing up to that point, even though there's a lot of talking heads and setup in the second quarter. But remember, that's where I expect there to be a lot of setup and exposition and relationship building and just a couple extra character seeds that get planted. That's where I expect it. And so, you know what? We'll think about it. We'll do this right now so I can remember that. I mean, this could get to excellent. I just don't remember how this thing pans out. We got a lot of talking heads. The art is not amazing. Character development, and I'm going to say at least you've gotten yourself up to good. Because, again, this boldness of how many characters are getting some time here and they're getting developed. Now, in the 4th volume, you got to get to doing that at some point because there's so many characters. You got to find the time to give them that effort. Ooh, we got this whole like exchange. I know that's not giving you no context for people who like have read this like years ago, but it's the exchange where like Armin and Aaron are talking with Reiner and Braun, I think, trying to get tips on how to like control them, the whole harness thing. And then we got some flashbacks here for the characters and what motivates them. So there you go. We got some character depth and development. Ooh, it's getting up there. I mean, it's creeping in this direction, this volume. I would say it's getting there. Atmosphere and immersion. Let me flip real quick to the back here. Atmosphere immersion is getting a little difficult when it's a lot of talking heads and setup, especially in a 4th volume. I feel like it's not weak, but it's not good yet. It's okay. You see how I work things out? So now we're going into the 3rd quarter, and we're getting that focus on Aaron mastering the device. I did it. Yeah, switch belts with the Jaeger goes into the 3rd act. It starts off with like a fight between Braun and Aaron in training. We do the whole flipperoonie thing, which is an important sort of foreshadow on him picking up the skill. We have the flashback scene, a reminder with the whole Mikasa piece on this page right here, with the whole blade thing and making decisions. We got Annie popping into the scene. Again, I can't talk about what I know about in the future, but we have that little, this is the vital image that you need to keep in mind for later, of course, right? We don't know it at the time during this, but that's the key moment. And the reason why it stands out to me is because, you know, the mangaka takes a panel to give us that art, and so it means pay attention. So I did log it in the back of the head, and then you see it later in the future with you know what, and then bam. And then we get the whole fight scene between Aaron and Annie, which is also an obvious hindsight mirror, but again, we don't know that. But we get some context around Annie and her perspective. So character development is actually, it's crazy how many characters actually got built up and like properly seated in this volume. I'll give it that. Even though there's a lot of talking head slow scenes, there's enough conflict and dynamics between the characters as well as we go through. Yeah, we got some more Braun development. Yeah, man. Okay, and then we got chapter 18. What should I do now? And we're in the woods with Armin. Got a cool fighting sequence here, training on the field. Ooh, I remember now. It was the whole like who's the leader. Ooh, this was a good part for a last chapter in the volume though, huh? There's a lot of seeds here that you don't know what they're being set up to do, but then you do. So that's very good. Do I feel like it's an Act 3 kind of closure? Well, oh right, that's it. That's the moment right there. I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm just going to leave it at that. Maybe we'll come back to it at some point. So that's a massive... Oh, that's actually really good. So that's character development. Yeah, so... Ooh, you know what? I think he did it. I think he did it. I think he did it. I'm not sure about the pacing, but you know what? The character, it's worth it. There's a lot of character work done on this volume. This did a lot of work. Again, I don't want to speak about the future, but I'm saying, like, if I were to just think about the importance of a lot of the seeds that happen in here, that felt like seeds, even though, like, again, not taking the other 4 volumes into consideration, they felt like seeds that you'd have to pay attention to. Things are going to start developing, and now you're working with a broader cast of characters that honestly have more depth than Aaron, is where we're at. Aaron feels like this moving piece on the board that makes all the other characters better. Like, the other characters' layers get explored more, and the Aaron layers are the mystery seed about the baseman and the key, and like whether he can trust himself and all that. Like, that's all good development. And like, he's in jail right now because he's the whole thingamajig where he didn't really do what he was supposed to do, and so it becomes a pacing problem. It's not, but it is, because the volume 3 ending, oh god, that's gonna ding it, because the volume 3 ending is the holy crap, he attacked Mikasa and now he's like taken out, and you're like, well, now what? Now, like, what's going on, you know? And it's like, well, I'll tell you what's going on. We're going to do a flashback for the entire volume. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk to you about, well, I mean, not right away, like, you know, chapter 1 is he ends up doing what he was supposed to do, but then after the chapter 1, we get to the flashback moments. Yeah, we're going backwards before we go forward again, and that's a little bit jarring. I know what it has to be done. It's very strong too. And because of serialization, it's bound to be what needs to happen. But I do love that moment quite a bit. I did it, and then wham. And then, just kidding, your belt was messed. Ooh. And then we get to the end, it's like, oh, remember the main story we were telling? Yeah, here's where we're at. He's behind bars. He's like he's like an animal in a cage, and Levy's got, you know, a watch on him. And so where are we gonna go from now? And as a cliffhanger, not amazingly strong, not weak. I mean, it's okay from a cliffhanger perspective. It's okay. Ooh, the harness thing was so good though. Yeah, but was it excellent? It was subtle. Distracting other plots maybe in the way. The focus was maybe not there from a storytelling and pacing perspective. Does each chapter flow? They feel like small stories. It felt like a little bit of an anthology because of all the flashbacks. I'm gonna ding it. I'm sorry if you think otherwise. I don't know why I should be apologizing. I mean, take this idea, right, and then do it yourself and see, like, what you come up with. Like, maybe you have different criteria, right, that's subjective to you, and it could be fun. It could be a fun little exercise for you to do for this project as well on the side, in parallel with me, right? It'd be kind of neat to kind of see, like, where people think things are different. Leave them in the comments below if you like to share. Like, look at the big one right here. This, for me, see, this is the importance of isolating these as categories, is that any number of things could make the final score be what it is, and it's not always the same thing, right? And the strengths and the ebbs and flows of the strengths and weaknesses is something that I do feel like a mangaka or a writer or an artist, like, you come to find that balance, and then you have something that carries through because you know what you're doing, right? And so I feel like right now there's a lot of exploration happening with this kind of series, and so you got a lot of fluctuation with the scoring. Like, look at this is all over the map. So we got volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4. The only consistency, it's weak in the design department, in the art department, but the world building fluctuates a little bit, but it stays excellent most of the time. Overall plot and world building, did I not touch this? I don't think I did. I never touched on this. So world building, yes, it's got a lot more depth to it because of the soldier stuff that's going on, so it's at least good. And then, do we have any more? So we have the world building and plot. Overall plot is a character plot start to really excel, and not just from a character depth and development perspective. The difference being that this third category is more about, like, how is each character developing. I'd like to make it just about Eren and Mikasa to some degree and seeing how they develop, because they're the primary characters, and that's the weak part, you know. But this could have been a 6. See what I'm saying? Is that if the Mikasa and the Eren character depth and development was done in this volume as well, might have been the first one to get a stellar score. That's how I feel about that for this volume. Whereas overall plot and world building is broadness, right? Is like, I got to go, like, from volume 1 to volume 4. What has been done from a world building perspective and seeded from a overall plot perspective that makes me speculate on the next 4, that kind of thing. Like, how do I feel about that? I feel pretty good. Excellent, in fact. I would say I feel both a reflection of what's come before and promises of what's coming next, but ambiguous enough that makes you want to read on. But the cliffhanger was weak. Could have been amazing. Cliffhanger was weak. the last quarter, the act 3 of this volume was not as strong as it could have been. For example, this one could have ended with the belt thing going, oh, your belt was messed up. That would have been, because it feels subtle, right? But it really, really isn't. Because like him succeeding and then failing, that could have been the third quarter of this book, not at the end of the second quarter. There's a pattern that I kind of look for at the midway point, which is the false victory pattern, where you win, but just kidding, you fail. That's literally what happened. Phase 3 to phase 4, I have the reversal of that. It's the false defeat pattern, which is you failed, but just kidding. Like something actually gets revealed and then gives the protagonist the upper hand. So it's in the right spot, man. It's hard because they're flipping around times and they're flipping around perspectives, and it's hard to kind of tell that continuity story of Eren in his harness. That's the problem. Whereas that could have been a really clever through line that wove between the 4 parts, like the multiple perspectives, the whatever else is going on, other characters telling stories, like being able to kind of come back to this one plot might have been able to thread things around and then give us like a subtextual arc to this, which is Eren's willpower is the strong suit. The fact that he made it work when it should have failed, and then when he fixed the thing, well, now it's not only working, he overcame the weaknesses to succeed, and so now he's going to excel because things are working. You see what I'm saying? So that could have been the big like end reveal, and then he's in a cage, and then it'll be the flipperoonie for the cliffhanger, and now we come back to the present of like, yeah, you kind of screwed up, you lost control of the Titan, that kind of thing. I'm not sure, but at this point I'm backseat writing this. Really, I was working out my thoughts to convince myself that maybe one of these could move, but I think I'm going to stay here. Is that they could have been better. So that's where we're at with volume 4. So we got 3, 4, 5, 10, 11. There we go. So it's the highest one so far. How do I feel about that? Do I feel like that's true? I really don't. But the character development was actually it was really good, and that's what got it the win here. That's crazy. Better than volume 2? Better than volume 2? Again, there's different reasons, right? Character development really popped off right here, huh? World building is strong the entire way through. No weak spots. Okay, I'm at the 1 hour mark, which means my allergies are now kicking in. I'm about to sneeze as well, which is not helpful for my concentration. Look at that. The only thing that really popped off here. Oh, my math is wrong. That's what it is. 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, I feel a lot better now. I mean, it's this little amount, but I was like, is volume 2 and 4 about the same? Yes. Storytelling atmosphere. Yeah, that's about right. So volume 2 for me is storytelling atmosphere feels like it was better than 4, but the character development was definitely higher. So there you go. We got a 15er. We're still in the good range. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, well, you know what? We're gonna move on because I need to get through the last 4, and maybe these will go faster because they're more current. You know, I just read them blind in the last 2-3 weeks for all of them. So we are moving on to volume 5. Terrible cover, atrocious. I do not enjoy this cover at all. You know what? You're gonna start at a 1 just for that. I'm just brutal with this. Listen, covers are very important to me. Okay, let's start flipping. All right, so now this is where we have that's a good story. I kind of like this little the intro here gives a really cool plot with Elsie's notebook and a really cool reveal. Ooh, that's okay. So you know what? It's so short and it's not even part of the official story. But you know what? You're gonna get a world building bump just for that. Just for the whole like I think it's understanding me or talking or something like that was kind of important to the world building. You're at least good. You've intrigued me, and it's not even the official part of the story. Crazy, right? So then, bam! Now we're in the story. Now Eren's in prison. He's gonna go to trial. Very good act 1 for a volume is his trial. It's also for me almost like a reboot for the next 4 volumes. This is again arbitrary, but I'm treating this as a act 1 or a phase 1 of the next 4 phase arc. We got Levi coming in, showing him who's boss, showing the council that he can take control of a situation if things go sideways, and bam, we're at the 1 quarter mark, which was a pretty solid act 1. It was actually really, really solid. So I would say that's a good opening to a series. It sets us up for expecting some dynamic changes, and it sets the characters up really good. There's also more characters in play, which I'm not sure is a good thing again, because see, I still haven't, like, as a reader, as an audience, right, I still haven't wrapped my head around all of the other 10 characters. And now we have Levi's squad. I have another 5 characters, Levi and the 4. Things like that, right? Is like, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. But now we are in the second phase, which is the whole setup, exploration. You got time, you got a breather, which literally cleaning a castle breather. They're literally giving exposition. This is actually very structurally sound. We have the whole moment here with the study of the Titans. This is at least good here from the character perspective. Atmosphere immersion. I like the beginning gets us. It makes me intrigued from an atmosphere immersion perspective. The whole learning about the Titans and the exposition happening in that second phase is actually really solid. It's good. It's good. Is it excellent? It's on the verge of being excellent. I mean, it's a lot of exposition, and this could be boring, but it's needed at this point. You know what I mean? Overall plot, like the world building is getting strong. The overall plot, we're at the midway point, so I'm going into a phase 3. So that's a big reveal moment right there for people. You know, the tester Titans get taken out. Create some intrigue here. Erwin curious, asking Aaron if what he thinks. That's pretty good. And then we have the whole investigation moment, which gives me an opportunity to look back at flashback based on what I know from volume 8. Oh, he is looking down. Okay, so I got that moment. Where is it? Right there. All right. It's very subtle. It's very hard to notice, but Armin is definitely looking down at her gear, at Annie's gear. Nicely done. But again, I can't be grading this based on what I know. I didn't even catch that. I knew he was looking at some, but what was he looking at? I don't know. Why is he looking at? I don't know. So that's where maybe sometimes the seeds become weak, is because the seeds are there, which are great in hindsight, but the subtleness of them doesn't always make them land, if that makes sense. So now we have Erwin, talking to the crew here about like the recruits, about who's going to go into the Survey Corps. That was actually pretty good. That was dark as hell, this moment right here. It's kind of like, why do you do it? That kind of thing, right? You're just going to get destroyed. I forget the percentage rate, like 80-90% of people who join are done for, right? Then we have the group that commits, and we're at that three-quarter mark, which means phase 3 to phase 4. Good moment. And there's the expected manga sneeze. It's pretty, I think it is. I'm allergic to the manga paper. It is. I can't. It's such a struggle for me. When I get to the 1 hour mark, I always feel like sneezing when I handle manga book. Every time. Okay, we're in the last quarter here because they're going to go on that one mission. They got to get out to the... Yeah, that's pretty epic for an Act 3. It definitely elevates the tension. A lot of talking head action going on here. A lot of setup, which is important. But for an Act 3, I'm not sure. But it is cool, the exposition on how they're going to roll out. And that there's that whole secret mission, or Erwin's sort of calculus of war strategy or approach to some people, the few have to be sacrificed for the many, was kind of a neat idea. The Titan attacks and like takedowns were pretty epic to see, because it gives us more context on how the squads work together to accomplish stuff. And then of course we have the major cliffhanger introduction here of the female Titan. I'm gonna put this one down because I feel like that one's fresh enough for me to sort of wing it now. I think the overall plot and world building definitely elevated with the kickoff of the female Titan mystery, that she wasn't only an anomaly but intelligent. And another rider type of idea going on there is pretty good. Is it amazing? It might. Overall plot and... Yeah. Okay, fine. Let me flip through it again. I would say... Hold on. I might give it... Yeah, you know what? Because of the bonus, the intro story that wasn't part of the story, that was really strong. The courtroom was pretty strong. Ooh, the testing of the Titans was strong. Then, hey, we're going to be doing this one mission now. It feels more cohesive. Yep. It's actually... So, you know what? Storytelling and pacing, probably the best of the bunch. Do I think it could have been better? Crazily enough, at amazing, I do think like it probably could have been better. Like this might have almost gotten stellar, but it's not quite there because of pacing. I think the pacing was okay, but it could have been better. But I think structurally speaking, based on my bias, the best one of the series. So right now I believe Volume 5 does have the best score here for storytelling pacing so far. Atmosphere and immersion, ooh, that female Titan moment. And the phase 4 of this volume was very strong. So it was better than good. The beginning, again, that bonus story also felt really cool. The courtroom was really good. So that's at least an excellent. Was it amazing? I'm gonna say no because some of the slow moments did feel slow, and the panel flow didn't really pull me into the scene. Sometimes it was jarring for me, but it's an excellent. So character depth and development. How did I not? I said I wouldn't pick this up again. Let me just think of it from an Aaron perspective. There was definitely a lot more work done from an Aaron perspective. But again, it's like the characters around Aaron are the ones that almost feel like they get elevated. Like the Levi gets elevated to some degree here. I mean, Aaron for sure, but he's sort of one note even when he's in these extremes, like the court case, like the smashes. And oh man, it's hard to explain maybe. And then in the phase 2 where he's with the Levi crew, just like talking things through and kind of like he wants to learn and like he immediately assimilates related to some degree, you know? Maybe there could have been some more tension there. And I know they tried to do the whole tension thing of like, but I should just save people. And like, well, but you know, if you do that, we'll take you out because, you know, you lose control. And if you're going to go monstrous, you're going to get taken out. And he shows curiosity, but the whole Hanji, like the whole test and stuff like that, he has more screen time, but I wouldn't say it's more development. It feels a little bit too static. It doesn't flow right. Or Mikasa. Like, Mikasa has moments, you know, but they're subtle. They're so subtle to the point of not really standing out as development. They just set up as a character profile. They're a character profile that are consistent. Whereas you get someone like Braun. Like, damn, son. Like the Braun character is probably the strongest of all the developments. You get a Hanji, you get their perspective on the Titans, and you have something there that's like, it's kind of odd, it's a quirky kind of thing, but it might be telling of something else. Like, it might just be the whole depth idea, right? It could be going somewhere else with that. Whereas Eren is like, oh, it feels like he's stalling, or it's like running idle or something like that on the highway. He's getting dragged along in his own plot, you know. Armin even has like a really good moment here in phase 4 with the female Titan thing, and he kind of witnesses things. He doesn't get killed, but like, is it on this one? Yeah, it's right at the end. And again, it's very small, but it's a pretty strong moment for Armin. Character depth and development, not as strong as the previous volume, I would say. And the squad gets formed. Hanji stands out to me, but you know, even at good, Hanji's kind of carrying this. Maybe Levi and Hanji would be carrying this. Were they amazing? Were they excellent? No. I'm going to say they were good. I feel good about that. Let me just check the art quality. Like, it's definitely improved. I don't even think I can say it's weak anymore. The talking head stuff is a little bland, and it still has its oddness with the facial anatomy structure. Sure, true. But see, I can appreciate it for the line work and the shading. See how there's like the hatching and pushing people to the back and foreground. Oh, much better handle on control. Okay, like panel control. Just for context to understand like how I might be looking at this from an artist's lens. Yeah. And then the strongest parts is probably the last seventh of this. I would say the very final part where, I mean, that fight was kind of cool. But the female Titans approach, it feels pretty good. Like, the action is okay. It's a little bit sloppy, but in an endearing way. I do enjoy it. Do I still think it's weak? I don't. I actually think it's cover is so bad though. That cover is so bad. I'm okay being that blunt about it because I have hope in my heart that this is going to get better. Someone's going to help him out here. Do I think it's weak still? Oh, I don't. Flip through it again. This is where I believe I started feeling like I was adapting to the art style, like from an interest perspective. It's actually good. It's okay. It's okay. I was going to say, is it good? No, it's okay. It's almost good. I feel good about this. So we got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18. That's what I mean. This is the kind of the part where I wanted to see this development, and this is why I wanted to do this kind of series for myself too, from a journaling perspective. It just feels cool to have these snapshots of this reading experience that I can go back to and sort of contextualize why I thought, like when I thought the series sort of had these moments, you know, bam, on the scorecard thing, you know, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. So we got an 18, folks. We're gonna move on because I felt like I made some more decent-ish time there. I could probably get better at this, but I'm also trying to work on the language behind the rating and stuff like that and work out my thoughts. So again, if you're still here, thank you once again for sticking around, and hopefully you're enjoying this kind of content and what it could be. If not what it is, at least it's promising to be something that once the production gets better, this will be more fun to do for other series and stuff like that. Or I mean, I could continue it for this series, but I don't know. We'll see how we're going to do this in the future. Volume 6. Let's look at the cover. I know I complained about this in the vlog itself, right? It's could it have been better? Yes. There's parts of this cover I don't like, and there's parts of it that have promise now. It's actually showing an awareness of composition with the angle flow. I do a whole vlog on just like dissecting the art composition and like doing an art review. That would take me back 20 years. I'd have to like hone up on my skills. That's my background, by the way. I got art, English, philosophy, and then I went into digital development. And so that's kind of a jack of all trades, a bard, if you will. But this is the most years I put into any sort of scholastic thing, academic thing, is art. So this is that's why it's like it's a rabbit hole for me. Let's start flipping through the book. Let's get some looks here. I feel like the art, this is where it's it was very evident to me that the art skill went up, and I'm feeling it already in the first chapter here. I'm in the first quarter. The high pace action is good. There's continuity of choreography that feels good. Sometimes it was hard to follow, but it looks epic and it looks good. And so in the first quarter alone, pretty good. I'm gonna say, man, it's almost, man, you know what, unless it loses points. Oh, the cover, you know what, the cover's not, it's not bad though, it just could be better, man. Is this the first, did this one get a good at least? Okay, so there's an evolution here. Maybe. I'm feeling good about this being good. This fight scene, that's actually pretty epic. And the whole Armin in here, and a bit of a reveal here from a storytelling perspective. As an Act 1, it was actually pretty good. From a world building perspective, we're going to say, it's good. It's good because it gives us a promise of like, that we're going to be able to explore what the female Titan is from the perspective of the broader world and how she fits into it. I will say Act 1 was actually, Act 1 is important. It's like, it's an important benchmark for me of like where something could stay, right? Because it's more like if you lock in an Act 1 and you give me a good transition point from an Act 1 to an Act 2, I have expectations. Are properly aligned, right, to what I expect out of the story. And so you win a lot of points if you do that right. We have this point here where he has the memory of the female Titan looking down at him, not doing anything. Let me get some flashbacks here. They get the messenger letting them know that things are awry. So we have some escalated tension kicking in as we float into the phase 2. We have female Titan on the run, taking out some more people along the way. The action shots are good, and even the perspective has gotten better. I mean, it's still loose, but there's like a nice balance of that loose and more controlled line work. That was a nasty moment right there with twirly twirls, but then you get face art like that. Let's just keep going. I'm almost at the midway point. We got into the Titan forest. My nose can't handle it. I can't handle it, folks. I'm gonna be in a sneezing storm right now. Atmosphere immersion. Once I got to the Titan woods, things felt good, if not excellent. Things got pretty excellent up here. I'm at the midway point, and so that was the exposition adventure is second phase, right? Gets me into like the whole setup. We've got some camaraderie with the Levi squad, but very short touching on that. But it's more the exposition of like this female Titan just being excellent and being the threat for the next part of the plot, right? And so this volume 6 would be effectively the beginning of an Act 2 of a next 4-part volume. Doesn't have to be true. That's how I'm looking at it, and it feels that way right now. So it's getting a double bonus right now. I'm in the third phase where they're in the woods now, and so the threat is upon them right at the midway point, which is very good. We got a bit of a environment, got a bit of a character dynamic between Braun and Armin, which was kind of neat, and it kind of set some stuff up and was actually intriguing. So I'm gonna give character depth and development is starting to go up. I mean, Eren even has some time here. Armin got some time here to develop. We have a couple different characters that put in work here. Storytelling pacing, it's actually still very good. You know what? I'm almost seeing a pattern here of how I'm grading the storytelling and pacing. I almost go like phase to phase. So every quarter I go, was it good? +1. Was it good? +1. Was it good? Phase 3 +1, right? So +1, +2, +3, +4. So technically I could get this up to a 5. If all 4 phases are good, it's gonna be a 5. If it's like excellent, it's gonna go to stellar. If all 4 pass, and that's an easy way for me to do it. There we go. Another little trick I picked up so we can take some shortcuts. I'm at an hour and 30 minutes, by the way, folks, for you to have context as to where I'm at and why my allergies are really going nuts. Okay, we got some fight scenes in the woods, which are actually really good. The art is actually decent. Panel control is good. We got some action lines are actually like assisting with the design of the page. The flow, there's a lot more control, I would say, or awareness of control in any case. The framing is good. We got some tension with Eren not knowing if he should turn around to help because he doesn't know what the secret is. We do have a flashback now at the phase 3 to 4 mark where they got to test Eren, or at least put him in the well to like test him. So we get a bit of a flashback where they're talking that through, which slows things down a little bit in phase 3. That should have maybe been in a phase 2. I don't think it's bad, but we have the whole teaspoon fall on the arm. So we get an idea of like what might trigger Eren, but it wasn't clear to me when I read it. I had to have it sort of explained to me in the comments. So it wasn't amazing. interesting because I didn't pick up on it. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything for it because it almost got bonus points, but then penalties, and so maybe it all balances out. We got Hanji coming in to touch the arm. It's a weird Act 3. It's a weird Phase 4 / Act 3. I would say it would slow. It definitely slowed things down. So it's not going to get to amazing. I would say it's excellent. Oh my god. And then it's the chase down that leads into the trap, which is the epic moment, which is a really good closure, a very good closure, especially of a volume 6, which would be our midway point in a 4-volume arc. So it's actually good. Ooh. Okay, so the cliffhanger was actually really good. It didn't offset the weaknesses. I felt like it slowed down in that 4th phase, but the cliffhanger was really good of how they trapped the Titan and the whole, what that all means, right? Because it's Erwin not sharing all the details of the plot, because if he did, then things could fall through, because there's obviously a mole in there, which might have been the female Titan, which is who they were trying to capture. So there was a lot alluded to that was really strong. So now let's take another look here. Overall plot and world building, it's at least excellent because of the whole trap thing. The fact that they went granular with how the Survey Corps operates on the field was actually really cool. It was excellent, if you will. Was it amazing? It's close, man. I feel like I need to reserve amazing on overall plot and world building. Amazing needs to be when there's like an epic reveal, right? That'll flip the switch. It's kind of how I feel about that. I can't just give it a 5 when it feels like a standard flow of storytelling, which is what this felt like. It's like if it was putting the pieces on the board, they were good pieces, but there was no major reveal. That makes sense. And I feel like that's the catalyst for me. Or like if it's like an epic cliffhanger. It was a pretty good cliffhanger, but it had that weak spot before it. So it was almost like that epic cliffhanger. If everything else was perfect, it would have been amazing, right? But I feel like it was kind of doing this for me. Oh, but is that world building or the storytelling? You know what I mean? I got to separate those two things, because the storytelling was doing this kind of thing right in the last quarter, right up to that cliffhanger. Oh, okay. So I'm talking about cliffhangers being the storytelling could have been a 5 if it was perfect with this kind of cliffhanger. Perfect. But it was doing this. I was going all over the place. It's like driving on a highway, but you always put it on the brakes, you know? It wasn't as jarring as like someone pulling up the handbrake, but it was jarring enough that I was like, man, there's no one in front of you. Why are you putting on the brakes? You know what I mean? So maybe that could have been structured differently, and maybe that could have gone away to some degree. I'm not sure how I'm not going to try to backseat write this one, but I just feel like just explaining why it's not a 5, but it could have been. And then atmosphere immersion, the woods really did it. The fights in the woods were really good. The tension was really high. You know what? That might have got a 5. I'll flip through it again and I'll explain it. It's just that because, you know, in the first quarter, we have the female Titan still on the loose and like taking things out. So like you're in the action. So that's what I mean by immersion. Do I feel what the characters are feeling when this female Titan is after them and taking things out, and the fear, the anxiety, the boldness, like of some of the fight actions, right? Like going in here and doing the tactics and the risk taking. And do I feel like when he gets grabbed, right? Oh my God. Such a great moment. Actually, I had forgotten that one. And this is really strong moment. It cuts himself out of the hand. That was actually really good. Okay, but that would be a mix of the atmosphere immersion. Maybe I felt that one. That was good. Character development for Reiner there was strong. So character development at 4 feels right to me. Okay, let's keep going, because I was talking about something else while flipping through the immersion, right? So then the second phase, she's still chasing things down, still taking things out, shows more intelligence in her techniques, brutalness in the techniques, and then bam, we're in the woods. And it's like, oh crap, like this feels kind of neat. The way they move around in there is cool. Them being chased in the woods is like high anxiety, high octane. Action lines are good. Like I'm in there, everything's moving. And then we have this slow down part with the whole teaspoon flashback. So good though. Like the momentum was so good. It was so good. And then bam, caught. Okay, so back to it then. These feel like high scores to me, but they feel right. I think I talked my way through all of volume 6, I think, as much as I can go to feel confident counting this out. So we got 4, 9, 13, 16. Wow. 20. We have ourselves a 5, 10, 15, 20 if you're wondering how the scores go, right? Just multiply by 5. We got another 4-star. Yeah, folks. Bam. There you go. I mean, stick to a series and you can actually see it evolving into something pretty spectacular, man. This is fun. This is fun for me. I don't know if it's fun for you. If you're still here after, I'm at 1 hour and 38 minutes, 40 almost. Okay. So I got 2 volumes left to do. We're probably going to hit the 2-hour mark for this. Godspeed to you all if you're still around, man. I don't know what this is going to turn into, but man, I could just split it up, I suppose, but I'm not going to do that. Hopefully you'll all just pad yourselves out along the way as you go. But we're going to move on to volume 7. okay, this is when I feel like things really started to feel awesome. This is where I feel like the 20 score started to appear without having this kind of grading system. I was feeling like I was in the 4 to 5 range when rating these on Goodreads. I believe that's true. So let's go. I read these in the last week and a half, so these are relatively fresh. This is definitely where I saw, like, I think I talked about this in the vlog. This cover composition is almost amazing. It's actually, it's like a between a good and an excellent, and almost an excellent, but almost amazing. There's just enough like that if it was done to a certain, like the anatomy is off, so that's gonna get a ding. The composition flow sort of like makes me leave the page, which gets a ding. But man, it could have been amazing. It could have been excellent if the anatomy was a little bit more sound for a cover, especially. Just take some extra time. It's a cover, man. But it's good. It would at least get the good. So I'm gonna start that. The cover's gonna kind of kick off like what I expect from an art perspective. Let's start flipping through. Now I'm relatively certain I still remember the parts that I thought made this feel epic. There's the in the woods moment, the Titan trying to climb, which is gonna be important later. Okay, the trap. Now we're gonna get some context around the trap and getting her out of there. Levi kind of triggering her to like do the scream, right? And then all the Titans come running. We're still in the Act 1, Chapter 1, opening of the Volume 7. Man, they ravage her. They just eat her all up. And then it's assumed that she got free because we're getting some flashback context. So character development starts to kick in here. Some seeding, so that some overall plot and world building elements are at play here. And in a dynamic, the character dynamics start to excel rapidly between a lot of the character dynamics, talking to each other, how they work as a squad, what the importance of each character is in a formation, the importance of sacrifice. Ooh, man, there's some good moments here. Let me just take a moment. Let me try to get, oh man, this is good. Some good Levi squad moments too going in here, trying to take her out. Oh, and just showing like how brutally effective the Levi squad is important at this moment in time, right? God, but then chomp, spit, and then we get the brutalness of the takedown of the Levi squad, which is crazy because it effectively gets us to the midway point. So our Act 2 is a high octane action sequence. Now usually I expect again that adventure, the exposition, the setup, which we also got. So it's like a double bonus here. So already I'm going, let me just double check here. Act 1 as a bit of a setup, like how does Act 1 play out here with the setup? Flipping backwards here. But it's that they got the female Titan trapped now and they have to get her out of there. So we got the setup here, and then we have the escalation, the catalyst moment from phase 1 to 2, which is the chase down and the Levi squad going in for Aaron to keep moving, but then they get taken out. That almost feels like that could have been an entire volume, and that could have been a cliffhanger, that takedown is crazy enough that should have been the ending of a book, but it wasn't. So already storytelling for these two parts actually takes it to excellent. I think the two phases are solid. The atmosphere and immersion, the tension is crazy. It's actually pretty good. I'll put it up on the 4-2. Character depth and development, definitely some work being done here. Aaron's got some growth. I don't know. I'm not gonna. Does it get to a 5 in this one? Maybe. I'll tentatively. It's creeping towards a 5 for finally. And then overall plot and world building. Oh man, there's some shit starts to break down, and like that matters to the overall plot because the Levi squad is being set up as this, elite force that could have been like part of a major part of like the long-standing arc, mentors to Aaron, that kind of thing, right? And so losing them is even more brutal to both character development and overall plot and world building impacts. Now we have the Aaron fight, your phase 3 moment. The late Act 2 rolling into an Act 3 is an Aaron beatdown, which is really good. The art is actually good here. No, good. The fight scenes, the choreography of the fight scenes is actually, it's good. This whole series could get to excellent at this rate. Like this, it doesn't feel like a crazy panel right there, but I love that panel, man. There's just some panels that are like, oh, they're excellent, if not amazing, man. Even this double page spread, yeah, it's kind of loose line work and stuff like that, but it works. It's actually doing what it's supposed to do. The anatomy is actually pretty solid. The perspective is decent. The action lines are intentional to what the action is on the page. They're not just sloppy for being sloppy. But then it gets kind of like rough and kind of loose and kind of weird on the next double page. It's not bad, but it fluctuates, man. But it's good. Anyways, I'm still going through the fight here. That's great. Gets his face smashed off by a trunk and gets taken out, swallowed up, and taken away. And that's our phase 4. Oh my God, my nose. And that's our phase 3 to phase 4 right there. That was excellent. But that was excellent, and the pacing was solid because the focus was so strong there. You know what? I'm already moving it to 5 because I feel like it almost got a bonus point for being as focused as it was, and like really taking, I mean, a little bit of a risk here because it's an entire chapter is just the fight, it's the beatdown, but it's kind of, you want that at that exact moment, and you got it, you know. And then you got Levi running in. He's gonna see the decimation. And so that there's like a somber act 3 to some degree, but it's going to get accelerated because Mikasa's getting in the mix here. She wants to get Eren back. Levi's doing what he has to do, even though he's lost his squad. He's taking that risk, but he's going to get Eren and Mikasa out of there. Good mentor behavior going on here for an ending, and they take out the female Titan. It is a definitive conclusion, and then they get back to the city, and they become the receiving end of, wow, the Survey Corps lost so many people. What was it for? And how the audience, how the civilians perceive that and the impacts of that on a character like Eren or Mikasa or like, it's kind of neat. So it's good from a character depth perspective. But now that moment gives us the promise of a character development moment for Eren, possibly Mikasa to some degree, but we don't get it. We get the promise at the end of that phase 4. It was still strong though. It was conclusive enough to really make that phase 3 strong. So yeah, storytelling pacing was solid. It's almost stellar. Might this get the first bonus point? It requires another flip through. So we got our act 1. Tension is high. Tension is maintained into a phase 2. It's escalated with Eren's coming into the picture here. And then we have our, all the patterns are feeling right. Yep. It's just got we got our first stellar. This is probably my favorite volume, to be honest, and I'm not surprised by where the score is going to land on this one. This was a 5-star for me on Goodreads. So, and a 5-star is not a score I give out easily on Goodreads for any book, because it really needs to be, because there's no 0.5s and stuff like that, right? It needs to be one of those, like, it's like a high recommend. It's not just a recommend. It'd be like if you're going to, it's almost like one of these, like, if you're going to read the entire series, I would say, in my head, I'd be like, just wait till you get to volume 7. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you're not really appreciating or liking, I know sometimes it's like, it's one of those like, yeah, but you're gonna ask someone to like read through 6 volumes to get to 7. Yes. That's how good I think volume 7 is, because it makes the prior 6 volumes, it makes a lot of those pieces, not all of them, because there's still some weak spots, but it makes a lot of those pieces get to the point of feeling like now you're in a world, right? This world building score goes up. Now, the part that I still think is a weakness is because of that secret with the basement. It keeps getting seeded, but we don't actually, that doesn't move things forward. And it's like, even though it feels like a narrative device, it's such a long-winded, seeded narrative device that it becomes an overall plot and world building score now, even though it's probably a character development, a character depth and development for an Eren. It's probably a storytelling and pacing component later on, right? Like them getting to the house was something that was like a motivator that they have to get, you know, the next quest is that they have to get to that side to get back to the house. And so there's going to be a nugget there that makes them move to the next, maybe the next 4 volumes after volume 8, that type of thing. But that's not the storytelling, right? Storytelling is purely just the construction of the story and the pacing and the flow is what I'm grading, and stellar. Overall plot and world building, is it still excellent and not amazing? Yes. Why? Why is it not amazing? Not amazing because it wasn't like there were any reveals, like solid reveals that would make it an amazing, and I feel like that needs to be the boundary for me. Whereas excellent is like, everything felt like it was giving us more, like it was making the world more robust, but not necessarily, like it wasn't like catapulting me into something new, which we'll get to in the next volume. You know where I'm going to get to. You know what I'm going to talk about possibly in volume 8, because that one's really fresh for me. Do I feel good about this? Production quality at 3? Yes. Character development, was it amazing? No. Was it good? It was excellent. Amazing for me really needs to be another one of those moments where like I feel like a major reveal happens, or like a significant moment, and I almost feel like it needs to be like an Eren or a Mikasa significant moment. And not just significant because like Eren has significant moments in this volume, but they weren't like this explicit moment that spoke to his character evolving in an intentional way from Eren's perspective. I still feel like he's a passenger in the plot, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go with that. My nose is going to fall off. I'm so allergic right now. I've never sat through 8 books, flipping through 8 books in 2 hours. This is crazy. Oh God. Okay, so we got a 6, 10, 14, 17, 21, folks. Some good stuff right there, which means we have our first 5-star, and it actually worked out. It actually worked out to my Goodreads. Okay, let's move on. I gotta move on, man. This is crazy. I knew this was going to take long. I knew it. I was intimidated, but you know what? It's feeling kind of good now that I'm in the flow. Actually feels kind feel like I can do this. I don't think I can go past, like, I wouldn't have been able to do more than 8. Nor do I think I'm going to do I'm going to do 8 at one time. I'll do 4 at a time, maybe. Might be a way we approach this, or I'll do 1 at a time with the review. I'll have to figure out the production for this. Let's get to 8. I hate the cover. So, like, I went from a cover that was almost an excellent to amazing, back to this could have been, I was going to say could have been excellent. No, it couldn't have been. It could have been good, but it's okay. That's unfortunate. I hate the window here. I hate the blocking right here. This is a lot of wasted space. It's like 1/4 of the horizontal real estate of this cover is lost to a wall and a window. It's not important. Well, it's not on the cover. Okay, let's move on. So already, I mean, it could be weak, but I know it's not going to be. Although I do remember talking about, this was the volume where I'm like, the art, something's weird here. Like, it's both better to some degree, but then I lost what I actually loved about the fluidity of the amateur freedom that was in the previous volumes. Like, I mean, I'll just show, like, talking heads to sort of show the line work that it doesn't feel the same, you know? And so it felt a little jarring from that regard, but it's clearly better, technically speaking. This is all subjective, of course, but I'm speaking relative to the mangaka's work in the prior volumes is what I'm rating it against, not other art out there, right? Like, it needs to be relative. Gotta be fair here. I think, like, things like this, like talking head faces, like, there's cleaner line work going on. There's a controlled approach to the art, but I'm losing some of the spirit behind the line motion, and I'm a big fan of line work that's fluid and, like, confident. Even though it's amateur, like, there's like a feeling I sense in a line when it's like the artist is just going for it, you know, and confident that they're not amazing, but they have something to say and show. And so the art actually, man, it's better in some regards, and I don't like it for other regards. So I'm going to keep it at okay. Unfortunately, it feels like it's taken a bit of a step back. We'll see where it goes. I got so distracted I wasn't paying attention to the story. So, okay. So the opening here is, of course, them getting Annie into that, like, luring Annie into that trap, right, to capture her. That's your act 1. That's a pretty good setup to me. I like the little rigmarole there. You got me. So, so good at least, because it was well constructed. The dynamic between the characters was also good. It gave us some more, it's subtle, but it gave us some more depth and development for the characters. Was it excellent? Not yet. I would say it was good. It was a lot of characters being done at the same time, all in one scene, but development wise, was it excellent? No, it was too subtle to be excellent, maybe. It was good, but, like, it's not a character thing that makes me like the moment that happened. It's the storytelling that made me like how it all came together. Do I like it enough for it to have been excellent? We got the introduction of the police squad crew thing, right? Which they were introduced to us, but then they don't really pan out for the rest of the story. And I know this already because I've read volume 8, right? But relative and in the context of only volume 8, do I think that we needed to spend as many pages with this squad right now? Probably in the long term, but not for this volume. And that's where it takes a bit of a hit. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I feel. And then we get to the Annie part, which was a good setup here. And that reveal kicks us off into a phase 2. I'm going to keep it at good. Atmosphere immersion. Oh, this gets weird because now we're in the city again, and that's like the more boring part of things, unless they really get into the city and the culture of the city. And we're in a dynamic that feels active, but right now it's very character focused, so it's hard to feel like I'm learning about the city itself. And so I don't get that atmosphere immersion. I would say it's okay. They need Aaron to transform, so they're in that tunnel thing to kickstart him. We got a bit of a flashback with Levi and it's a bit of a trust dynamic, so a little bit of Aaron development going on here, possibly. Not possibly, it is. Is it excellent though? It's not, for the same reasons I've been pointing out. It's that Aaron he's along for the ride, but he's not really developing. Other people are driving his development. Oh yeah, and then there's that flashback to that fighting stance there, drawn in more detail. Oh, nice. They do a literal, like, they will actually show us, right? But I mean, they did that in the actual volumes where it happened. They definitely did that. So it's Armin kind of saying, like, where he kind of suspected it and why and how. And that's in the exposition phase. So we're in the second phase here. So it's at the right spot. There's the fighting prowess indicators, blah, blah, blah. And then Aaron trying to transform again, but he can't. And then once Armin and Mikasa put themselves in danger, that becomes a catalyst moment, the trigger, and that is pretty much the catalyst moment. Well, no, it's a little past the catalyst moment of the phase 1 into phase 2, but it's at the midway point. We're in the phase 3, and this is where generally something goes sideways. We have the introduction of the church. There we go. Now we have world building and overall plot. We have the Church of the Wall, which was good. I'm going to say, was it excellent? I mean, it was excellent in the fact that we at least learn a little bit more context about what they believe and stuff, but not enough time was spent to really give us some development around the Church of the Wall. Ooh, except for the end, right? But we're gonna get there. But like, okay, fine, I'll get it to excellent at least for now, because I'm talking a little bit in the future right now, right? But so we have, because okay, we have this worship. The Titan falls in, lands on a bunch of them, kills all of them except for Nick. Was that his name? I apologize if I got it wrong. Maybe I'll run into it. Damn. Everybody in that church got decimated. It's sort of like, whoops, oopsie doopsie. And then the chase happens. So there's the escalation and the phase 3 moment. Got to get a handle of things. The fighting here, this is the art starts to break down for me. It just doesn't feel as good as it did in volume 7 in the forest where the fight scene happened. Like, this just doesn't compare at all. So does it even become good anymore? No, it's just okay. It looks like it should be good, but new art style means you gotta pick up the lessons. Okay, now going for the wall, going for the climb of the wall. We are in the phase 4 at this point, so going to escape. And now someone pointed out in the comments that the anime did this better, and it doesn't show it in the manga at least at all, where I guess Eren throws Mikasa. You don't see that at all in the panels. It's not at all in the panels. So I lost a little bit of continuity because I didn't know how Mikasa got so high to cut off the fingers of the Titan, anti-Titan, to crash. So storytelling, pacing, it's still good though. We have the run through the city. It's still good. It's excellent. The tension is up. You know what? It's not good anymore. It's definitely excellent. And then I'll center that after if it's not centered because my OCD. Okay, and then gets taken off the wall, and we're in the 4th phase here, and then gets crystallized, and we get some Annie development here with the flashback of the father, like, promise, that you'll come back. Annie in a crystal, but then you know what happens next. And then we get that moment. And so overall plot, world building, I mean, got me. Stellar. That was a stellar reveal. Completely unexpected. This is what I mean about like a solid cliffhanger at the end after a decently paced volume. There's the cohesiveness from beginning to end, and then a banger at the end. That's going to get you a bonus star after already being amazing. You're going to get a bonus star for like doing an epic drop. Now, I still have another quarter to go. So that wasn't the cliffhanger. I have another quarter to go where they get into the like trying to get Annie out of this thing, and they got to give a bit of a resolution to what's going on. But they do kind of touch on, you know, this whole moment in the Act 3. They got the priest up there, which I want to say it's Nick, but I cannot see his name for the life of me. Yes, Minister Nick, thank goodness. Okay, and we have a character moment here with Hanji showing a bit of a Batman moment, which is kind of neat. I will give it that. I will give it at least this. Mikasa and Eren are still weak as characters developing in this, I would say, but the other characters hold them up. We have some late exposition on the whole Church of the Wall and how long was a secret being hidden. Now, that's not as epic as it just having been the reveal of the face, but it's basically like we get the reveal of the face and then an entire chapter dedicated to like almost like a setup for the next craziness to come, right? So I can't thank you for that. And we get a pretty decent conclusory, that's not a word, it is now, scene of Eren in the hospital, some people looking over him, just a lot of conclusive stuff. The different political organizations talking about the next steps, how to get Annie out of this crystal thing, what the hell is it? Again, just rapid firing through some other scenes here of the other squad mates being looked over, just in case one of them was also a Titan Rider. I believe that's what they were called. And so it definitely slows down near the end, but it's a big setup for, by the way, we're being attacked again. So, dun dun dun. Gotta come back for next time. So where are we at now? We got another stellar rating, which is kind of exciting. Production quality, creativity, I still feel good about that being stuck at a 2. It was going on a good course, and then it sort of slid back down. It's okay. I'm hopeful for it to get back up there. Atmosphere, immersion. I hate to say it, but the art may be impacted. Atmosphere and immersion. I'm not sure that's fair because that should only be impacting production quality and creativity, right? The line work, the art, the composition, the panel work, the flow, stuff like that. But I think it impacted how I felt about the city. Like I felt like I needed to feel more like I was part of the city. The beginning part was good, right? Because like the Annie piece and the silence and the emptiness, like I do feel like that worked worked really well. The tunnel, the setup, the vibe between all of them, like the interaction of like them trying to like kind of hint to each other where things were going. I thought that was good. It kept me in there. The city chase and fight didn't. It felt weak. It felt not rushed. Almost like maybe too slow for what it was, or I feel like it was missing some substance there, is what I would say. So atmosphere immersion, kind of weak. The wall picked it up a little bit again, because it was that oh shit moment, but I feel like I'm giving that point to the overall plot and world building, whereas that could have just been atmosphere if it was like something that could have been expected. Maybe it was like an atmosphere feel, but I feel like here's the thing, it was creepy and it could have been excellent, but my time in the city didn't feel excellent. It felt more like good, and so I feel like, or okay, to be honest. So I feel like that's kind of what impacted the atmosphere immersion. Storytelling pacing, was it amazing? Maybe. Storytelling pacing, Act 1 was solid. Act 2, exposition setup, this is how I knew, it was a bit mystery novel-esque, which was okay. Then the big fight kicks off at the third phase, which is where I would have expected it to happen. So the pacing is good there. It focuses on that. He takes her down. Or they take her down, because it's Aaron holds her down, but the group sort of helped it all come together. And then it sort of does a wrap-up, is how I would call the last quarter. It's more a wrap-up than anything else. It's like the season's over, that kind of feeling. Maybe that's a good way of putting it. It's like the season ended, and then you're getting this like summer special of all of the things that you get to look forward to for the next season. That's what the ending felt like here. Does that make it, so does that penalize it from being amazing? Maybe. I'm not sure how else they could have done it, right? They got to put that information somewhere. It could have been an opener of the next volume, though. Like, it felt like it could have been an Act 1. Like, here are all the pieces on the chessboard, you know, a reminder. And then it sets you up to expect that long-term game. But as a closure, it felt more like a summer special at the tail end. So, yeah. So, it could have been amazing. I want to say it's excellent. Atmosphere, yeah. Character development. I wish it was more tied to Aaron, maybe. God damn it. Keep flipping through. Because Act 1 had a moment that was... No, Act 1 had a... Yeah, but that's already excellent because of that. Because of that moment inside the tunnel with Aaron. But see, him not being able to transform, but then he transforms when people are in danger. Like, it's good. It's a good catalyst and trigger moment that talks about his ability to find a control, like a mechanism, instead of biting himself or something like that, right? Like, it's like his friends are at risk instead of like his health is at risk. It's more like he has a goal and his friends are at risk, and then bam. That's kind of neat. Good transformation. Development, character development. No real development in the phase 3, and then phase 4 we got the Annie flashback, and then again the last quarter is not really any development, because we have the Hanji development, we have the shirt coming into play. Yeah, but the primary characters themselves don't develop, and that's the weakness for me. So yeah, we're good. And then production quality, creativity stays. We're at the 2 hour and 10 minute mark, folks. We got 4, 7, 11, 13. Oh, but then the big pick me up here at the 19. Does that feel right to me? Yes. So I graded it a 4 on Goodreads. So wait, is that right? Right, 15. Oh, it's just under a 5-star. But that bonus point got it up there. And see, that's why I added the stellar column, because I wanted a way to have something offset when something felt weaker, you know, in the 5 category system. Is that if something really felt like it was excelling, I wanted to offset some of the stuff that took a hit, because it's part of a serialized collection, right? And so some of these parts are not going to have the same expectations, right? Because they're going to ebb and flow depending on what the focus is for the volume. That's how I feel. So there we go. Hopefully I scored everything right and I'm not embarrassing myself. I'll recount this after to make sure. We are at the 2 hour mark. If this is the same vlog and you're still around, man, oh man, you are soldiers. You are soldiers trucking through. Like, I don't know if I have the time to really go through the tier list, but if I were to really quickly, as a conclusion of all of this long session where I need allergy medication now to get me through the rest of the, well, no, this usually like passes as soon as I put these books away and I walk away for like 10-15 minutes. My nose is fine. People have been hearing me talk about this for 4 years of doing vlogs with manga. It's crazy. I always thought it was like different rooms I was in and stuff like that. No, it doesn't matter. Okay, back to the tier. Let's focus. The tier list. Does it look good on the screen? Decent enough. Okay, so here's how I've laid things out so far. I mean, what I can do is I can go into this mode if it helps, right? I can go bam, and then you can just hear me talking, and you'll get a better view of this. But I'll do that if you want to take a closer look as I kind of conclude my conclusions along the way. This was my gut feeling when I originally did this, because really I was just trying to get a template set up, and I wanted to get the covers that I had read so far, 1 to 8, and I want to make sure they were in here so that I could do an episode about this, and maybe it would be its own episode, right? I feel like another sneeze is coming. This is insane. I'm gonna get a headache from this. But I wanted to see now is if does this align with the pointing system? Meaning, does issue 7 does it actually take the top tier here? Now I don't have anything in the amazing chart, but again, this is all going to fluctuate, right? They're all going to start more or less in the middle lanes, and then they might push each other up and down along the way, right? Because it's going to be relative to each other on this chart. Now I'm using the same grading system as the chart, right? Because it basically be S, A, B, C, D, but I don't see anything being a 5 rating in the entire series. So I feel like this whole lane will be lost. So there might be some fluctuations that happen, like when they're all relative to each other, the scoring will bounce around because the scores go away when I'm kind of tearing them up against each other. We'll see how this evolves. Okay, let's just take a look though. What the hell? Oh, look at that. So I had done like a tentative volume 8 when I was building this template out, but this is what I actually ended up with. So what went different here? Oh, I gave it the bonus star. I was still defining what these really stood for, I think is what was going on here. Yeah, I was, because good for the art and production quality. I don't think that's true. So that feels like it was a temporary placer. And then I have character and development was lower, but I talked my way through that one, so that was higher. Atmosphere immersion being more than okay. I might talk my way back down to okay for atmosphere immersion. Yeah, I think that's fair. So my original gut feeling on atmosphere and immersion was okay. It was 17. Now amazing here because I didn't really have the stellar piece built out yet, and then I added it, and I feel like it deserves it. But I think I might have reconvinced myself to maybe dock it another point, because I'm thinking back at like just that phase 2 was sort of bland. It was just bland. It felt like it could have been a lot more intense. It wasn't, but the chase in phase 3 wasn't that intense either. You know what? I've talked myself back down a point. I'm going to put this into 2. It's still okay. It's still good. So we're at 18. That's my final. I'm going to delete this version because it was part of an old thing and delete it. Okay, now we're back to the tier list. The derailment there. And so volume 7 is clearly the top. And it's likely, like relative to the rest of these, it's likely at the S tier. But right now, I'm using the point system to grade them. Volume 1 is where I have the next one in line. But look at that. So like that's clear. That was clearly wrong. 15. I have a 20 and a 21. So strangely enough, I talked my way up on 6, which I hadn't anticipated because I have 6 down here. That's crazy. See, because I hadn't remembered all the details, right? Because I just talked them all out, so now it's fresh to me, right? But really, it did feel that good after I went through it again. And then we have the 2020 18. We have 18s for volume 5 and 8. All right, so we got volume 8 in here now. Let me move these out of the way. You can't see them off the screen right now. Well, okay, I'll get into the granulars in a second. We need the next ones up. We got 13, 15, 13. So we got 1 and 3 at 13. So clearly 1 and 3 are down here somewhere. Let's move 4 out of the way. Let's get 3 back onto the board. All right, and then we got a 15 for 2 would get us somewhere on this row. And then we got 4 in the 15 row. Bam. So there's only 1 5-star so far, right? 5, 10, 15, 20 stops at 4. So it's right on the threshold. So we got 1 5-star. So it's actually that. If we're going by a scoring system proper, it's crazy though, because S tier really means it has to be a 25, right? Because the only way you're going to get to S tier is if you're literally a 25, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. That's why the stellar column is in here, is because like I need to have a couple more opportunities to get it to 30, because it really needs to be 25 to 30 is where it gets into S tier category, right? Otherwise, it's solid. You're at excellent. You're an A. You're an A. S tier is like, you got to be above. You got to be above and beyond. So I feel good about this. Now the order here in the B column, we could go by point systems, right? This is where it gets kind of easy to judge this. The first 4 should be under good. That's true. All right, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4 should be in the C column, right? Because it's going to be 1 to 5, 6 to 10. Okay, it actually makes sense. Because 0 to 5, which is likely not going to happen. It's 6 to 10, which is likely not going to happen. 11 to 15, which a lot of them are going to fall into. Like 11 to 15 is up in this row. And then 16 to 20, and then 21 puts us, so we do technically have an S tier scenario. This all bumps up to some degree, right? Yeah, it means we're not going to have anything in the first 2 rows. Like, I don't think it's ever going to happen. So this doesn't, maybe this rating system doesn't work in this regard. It makes it easy for me to think about it. Yeah, this is what's messing things up. It's the extra word here, because this can't possibly work out the same way, because the baseline is going to change. You see what I'm saying? So we're never going to be in a scenario where the first 2 rows are used, which means they effectively become null. And so if you remove the last 2 rows, you're left with a scenario where you got to rethink your baseline needs to be somewhere around the 15 mark. 15 becomes the D tier, not because it's terrible, but because it's at the bottom of the stack. That's all. And so you're talking about a scenario where these ones for me are in the weakest group, but we do have a very clear 13 and 13 for 1 and 3. It makes it easier for me to then go, okay, well 1 and 3 are down here, which means 2 and 4 are up here. You see, and then we work that way. So that makes it cleaner. So something like if the C lane here, I need to have some sort of rating. I need to put something here or I'm gonna get confused. And then we go 14, 15, 16. So up to 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 23, 24, 25. That makes sense. That just gives me a range, so that makes it super easy for me to gauge where I'm at, right? And then we'll go from there. 17 to 19. This is done in a weird way. 14 to 16. There we go. I'm gonna do that. That way it makes it easier for me to like go bam, bam. These go down here, right? That's an easy start. 2 and 4. These are in the 15s. They're 15 ranges. And then we got 18s on the map, which I believe are 5 and 8, right? We bring these down here. There we go. Nice and even. And then we got 6 was a 20, and then we have 7 as a 21. Oh, okay. Well, S tier is gonna be holding. It's gonna be holding the line. I mean, S tier shouldn't be loaded with a bunch of volumes. I think that S tier is like it's gonna be a special one. Like it's gonna be a special one. I feel like it's gonna land, or maybe this just gets separated, or they get bumped around, or there's a different rating system maybe that I can use here as a guideline. But so far, this is how I'm gonna guide it, and I want to go like was 1 better than 3? Yes. So there you go. So is 3 the weakest? Shit, it feels wrong to say it, but I guess so. I mean, overall, I right now, I guess. And then 4 and 2, because these were the same score, right? They're both 15s. So was 2 better than 4? Yes, it absolutely was. I hate that cover. I hate both of these covers so much. But I do hate the second cover more. But then story-wise, I feel like 4 locked in on a good, like, reveal moment. I'm sorry, what was right? Everything goes to shit, right? Yeah, I had the best character development. I had the better character development. 4, but 2 had the era moment, right? And so I feel like 2 was the protagonist moment to shine. I would say it's higher than 4. These are close. They're the same score. This is where the tier list becomes fun because I have to put them against like the lane itself has its own rating, right? And then we have the B lane, 5 and 8. Is 8? Ooh, is 5 better than 8? Yeah, I think it is. I'm gonna settle with that one. I feel like that feels right to me right now. And then 6 and 7. I mean, 7's got the higher score, 21 versus 20. But I do think, like in general, I do feel like that's about right. That makes sense to me. So there's the tier list update for now. And then as I read the volumes, I will hopefully keep this up with the ratings and the tier list. My allergies are so off right now, and I've been talking for so long, 2.5 hour mark exactly. And so yeah, fun vlog, but I do feel like I'm feeling a little nauseous now because of the weird allergy thing going on right now and the breathing, and it's just weird. I gotta walk away, folks. But this was a lot of fun. I did enjoy doing this quite a bit. Looking forward to doing it for other series as well, and ideas, like just ideas. I think this is a fun way to kind of review something in a different way, and I think it just differentiates this kind of content, which I think is something that I'm trying to explore along the way, and some people will stumble upon this, and that's cool. I invite you, of course, on this journey. It's always fun to be able to explore content like this on a channel that's just low stress, and it's just sort of finding its feet along the way. And smaller channels have the opportunity to do that because it's more of an intimate space as opposed to share ideas along the way and really kind of carve out the kind of niche that the channel is trying to fill. And for me, it's like I don't really have a definition of that. I just know that it's not like what I see out there. So it's like I have to explore. In order to find what that is, I do have to go on the journey and walk the path. So I hope that this kind of content and approach was entertaining for folks who love Attack on Titan but also kind of see how this might evolve and be applied to something else. I'm kind of excited to see what this might bring and the journey that it takes me on. And with that said, once again, thanks for showing up. I appreciate your time as always, and I'll catch you in the next stack of episodes. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire. Ready? Peace.